Ciao besties, welcome back to my channel. My name is Viviana and today I'm spilling some tea. I asked you guys on Instagram the other day to ask me some questions about my design journey, my job, and literally anything regarding design, and you guys came through. I got so many questions, I did not expect that, and obviously I cannot answer all of them, but I chose a couple of questions for today's video and I am so excited to answer all of them. So without further ado, let's get started. So in this first question, someone is asking me how I got started with design. Did I go to uni or am I self-taught? Some of you might know this already because I have mentioned it on this channel, but I have a degree in visual communication design. I went to uni for 3 years and graduated exactly 1 year ago. Today, the day that I'm recording is June 7th, and exactly 1 year ago I was graduating, which is insane that 1 year later I'm here filming this video. But yeah, I went to uni and studied design, but I also studied like a lot of other things because my degree is in visual communication design, so there were like a lot more things that didn't necessarily include brand design, but that's a story for another day. And overall, I would say that my experience had ups and downs, and I have actually made a TikTok about this, but many people of course ask if you should have a degree to be a designer, and my answer is no. Like, from someone who has a degree, my answer is no, especially if you go to the kind of school that I went to. But again, I don't want to get into it because it's a whole thing. Second question is advice on how to get started after graduating. This question is like very fitting for my experience because I started my design journey on social media right after I graduated. As I said, I graduated exactly 1 year ago, and by the end of the month last year, I started taking my page on Instagram seriously. That was the moment when I was kind of realizing the potential of an Instagram page. So my advice after graduating is to take things slow and allow yourself more time to learn, because I think that when I got out of uni, I did not have everything figured out. Actually, I didn't have anything figured out, just because I feel like my uni didn't prepare me to work in the real world. They kind of prepared you to go and study some more and then maybe you could work, which is something that I didn't want to do. I didn't want to keep studying for 2 more years. I didn't get like the full experience. I never did internships or stuff like that, so I felt kind of lost after I graduated. But I took some time to learn from people who are doing this job and that have been doing it for years. It was very helpful. So my advice is, if you want to start a page like I did, I think it's an amazing idea, but don't put too much pressure on it. Don't think that you have to start a business and get clients and get working like immediately, because you're probably not ready, and that's totally okay. That's totally fine. And honestly, even if I did it, even if it happened to me, I wouldn't like 100% suggest like going freelancing and working on social media like immediately, because I think that having some experience in the real world is still very useful. So I'm doing this job today because it kind of happened. I just kind of fell into it. I just started my page not as a joke, but like just for myself, and then followers started coming and people that wanted to work with me started coming on my DMs, and I didn't want to throw that away. I think that would have been just insane, you know, to not like take this opportunity and do something with it. But if you feel like you want to like get a job somewhere first and then maybe do some freelancing on the side, I think that could be a thing too, you know, because sometimes I do feel like it would have been better if I had like some sort of experience outside of this, just because, you know, I'm alone in this. Even if there are amazing people out there who talk about the job and who show their process and all, at the end of the day, you're still alone in this. There's no one telling you how to do every single thing. You know, just weigh your options, just see what happens. But I do suggest starting a page, or just in general have some social media presence, just to have like a base in case you want to do something like this. Okay, question number 3. How did you know that brand design was the path you wanted to take? Actually, I didn't know that. And again, I kind of fell into this. There's a whole story about this. Basically, my idea of what I wanted to do after graduating was something completely different, and it's insane that I'm here doing this today. I don't think I've ever talked about this. My dream and what I wanted to do and pursue was to make movie posters, because I love cinema, I love design, so I thought I could just combine the two things. And actually, I wanted to do my final thesis on this. I had just this whole idea about like women and how they were portrayed in movie posters. That was like a whole thing. But then I had to change the subject last minute for reasons. I don't want to get into it because it still hurts my soul to think about it. But basically for my final thesis, I had to do something completely different, and that kind of took me out of the whole thing because I was very excited to study movie posters and I kind of lost sight of it. I abandoned the idea, and then again after I graduated and I started my page, I just fell into brand design. I wasn't necessarily prepared to do brand design because in uni we didn't do a lot of brand design. I think that in 3 years of uni I designed like 5 logos, like tops, and I'm talking just logos, not even branding. So I wasn't necessarily prepared for that, and also the reason why I started my page was to kind of get better at this, because in my head I wanted to do movie posters because that was something that I could do, because I started using Photoshop way before I went to uni, so that was something that I knew and that I loved doing. I never thought that I could work in brand design because I didn't think that I was capable of doing logos. I barely knew how to use Illustrator. Being honest here on the channel today, everything I have learned it in this past year, which is totally insane. I never considered brand design just because I didn't think that I could do it. So starting the page and doing like weekly challenges, it was like a challenge for myself to kind of see if I could do this. I had a degree in graphic design, but I didn't know how to use Illustrator. I didn't feel like a real designer. I didn't feel like a good designer. I'm very thankful that summer, 1 year ago, I said, no, we are gonna do this, we're gonna get good at logo making, and that's happening. Am I good at logo design? I don't know, but definitely better than last year. Now I love brand design because I actually know about brand design. For now, I'm definitely sticking with brand design, and we'll see where my journey will take me. Okay, question number 4. What is the one thing you need to do before launching a business? Okay, first of all, I think that in order to launch your business, you don't have to have every single thing figured out just because you are getting started. So it's kind of impossible to have like every single thing figured out and working. Like you learn just by doing things and experiencing things, but of course try to plan as many things as you can. First of all, you should have like some sort of system in place in terms of the way you interact with clients. So personally, I suggest having a client portal, or at least kind of have a process to follow. That process can change in time. It doesn't have to be the same every time if you see that it doesn't work for you, but at least try to have some sort of idea of what you need to do once a client comes to you. Then I think also that you should have a website. I underestimated the power and the importance of having a website. I thought that my Instagram page was enough for people to understand what I do, but I actually found out that it's not that. Like people don't want to go through like every single thing that you have ever posted, so they just go on your website to kind of look at your portfolio, your services. So I think that having a website is very important. It doesn't have to be the coolest, most like insane website ever, especially if you are doing yourself and you are not a web designer. I think that just having that gives you a lot more credibility and people will take you more seriously. Of course, if you want to attract the right people, you have to present yourself in the best way possible. Then of course, if we're talking about like the real business side of things, I think you should have like an accountant, people that help you with finances, because it's a whole thing. I am still like wrapping my head around all of this, and especially for me that I work with clients from all around the world, it's very complicated. Have a contract, that is so important. You can have a lawyer help you with a contract, or you can use services like Bonsai, for example, that I use, that has lots of pre-made contracts for designers and freelancers. Actually, if you're interested in that, you can check out the first link in my description for a 40 days free trial for Bonsai. I didn't mean to plug that now, but I mean, it makes sense. And of course, try to have some price range in mind when it comes to the service that you're gonna offer. And actually, speaking of prices, question number 5 is, how have your prices evolved since you started? They have evolved, definitely. The first ever logo that I made for someone, not when I started this page, I'm talking like years ago, the first ever client that I got, I asked for 15 euros and that person gave me 20, just like out of pity. They were like, you deserve more than that, here's 20. I'm like, okay. And I remember that I felt so bad about asking for 15 euros. I made the logo in like less than 24 hours, and I just gave this person the draft and they loved it. So that was basically it in like 24 hours. I felt so bad for even asking that. And if we jump to when I started this page, when I got like my first ever clients, I would ask them 200 euros for like an entire branding. Of course, my branding strategy wasn't as developed as it is today, so of course I couldn't ask for thousands of euros, but I still think that that definitely was enough for the kind of work that I was doing. I would always have that thought at the back of my mind, like, you have to lower your prices because then you're not gonna get clients, which is totally wrong. If you feel like your work is worth the money that you're asking, then don't lower your prices. And of course I was doing that also because my business wasn't a thing yet. I couldn't ask for a certain amount of money, you know. But then when I started my business officially, of course my prices had to go up just because of the expenses that I have every day. Running a business is hard, you guys. I mean, there's a lot of expenses, taxes, you have to pay your accountant, I had to pay for the studio, bills, like there's so many things already that don't include like me having some money for myself. First of all, I have to take care of all of this, and then maybe if there's some money left, then I can just have it for myself, you know. And there's actually something that I wanted to mention. A lot of people ask me about this studio, and I want to say that I don't know how it works in other countries, but here I was legally required to have a studio in order to start my business. So yeah, I wanted to get a studio anyway because I live with other people, so I could never do any of this at home, but I was legally required to have this place. I couldn't start my business if I didn't have an office. So it is a choice, but it kind of isn't. People could say, well, you could just not have the studio so you don't have to pay rent and the bills. Well, I can't. But obviously I'm not saying that my prices are higher just because I have to pay for all of these things, which is a valid reason anyway. My process is different now. My brand strategy is way more developed. I offer way more things than I used to. Today, I feel like my prices are worth what I'm offering. And it doesn't matter how long you've had your business for. If you feel like what you offer is valuable, then give it the right price, because you shouldn't have to do things for free or for just a little money if you feel like they are very valuable. I think that, and this goes back to the other question, if you present yourself in a way that is professional, people will understand why you're asking that amount of money instead of just a couple of $100s, you know? If they are the right person, they will understand. If they're not, then they're not the right person for you, and you're actually better off without them. So question number 6, and this is one that I got a lot, is how did you get your first client? Well, if we're talking about the very first client that I got, the 15-euro logo, that was a friend of my cousin. We knew each other a little bit. She was just looking for a quick logo and I was available. So that was just a word of mouth thing. That was kind of an isolated event. I mean, I wasn't putting myself out there for work because I was still in uni. My whole time that I was in uni, I was never looking for work because, as I said, I didn't feel like I was capable of doing it. So I was kind of waiting to graduate and then figure things out. So I wasn't telling people that I worked, so people came to me in that case. But of course, that was just 15 euros. It was nothing. I was very happy. I was very proud of the money. Like when I saw it coming, it was like, oh my God, I earned this with my work. Before starting my page, I did a couple more jobs, but they were all for my relatives. They still paid me, but of course it wasn't much. But I did like a whole brand identity kind of for a shop. I just did the logo and some posters for outside, and the logo is literally on the sign outside. If you just walk by the street, you can see my logo, which is insane. I went to like the opening night and everything, and people were telling my uncle that they loved the logo, and I was like, oh my God, that's me. But again, it was my uncle, so of course he called me. And then I worked on my cousin's wedding, which was like a themed wedding, so there were a lot of things to do. I had to make like a logo with their names, and the logo was used in many things. That was very fun, actually. I loved doing that. The theme was TV shows, and you guys know how much I love TV shows, so that was like the job of my dream. I don't know if I can show this, I'm gonna have to ask my cousin, but I had to like redo the entire like Netflix homepage with like the names of the guests and stuff like that. That was so fun. And yeah, those were my first clients. And then when I started the page, just a couple of months after I started, people started DMing me and asking me if I was available for work. It just kind of happened. Many people would ask me, but not many people would turn into clients just because they weren't willing to pay. I wasn't really doing anything at the time. I didn't have a website or anything, but I was cheap. So that was the reason why I got clients. So I didn't really do anything specific, but I was posting on my Instagram page like 5 times a week, just like I am doing now. So I was putting my work out there. I was participating in creative challenges. I was expanding my portfolio, and I guess people saw what I was doing and reached out. But I have to say that you don't have to underestimate the power of word of mouth, because even today, even if you work on social media, word of mouth is so important. One client that I got recently was a friend of another client that I had. You have to kind of take advantage of that, doing like some client referral discounts. If you feel like you could work from people from, you know, where you are, just don't rule that out. I mean, work can come from anywhere, and just tell as many people as you can. Use all the social media platforms that you want to promote your services. Question number 7 is the studio yours or do you work with other designers? Yes, the studio is 100% mine. Viviana.graphics is a one-person business. I do everything myself, and here in the studio there's just me, and I intend to keep it this way. I don't really want to turn this business into an agency, because I feel like that I work better when it's just me. I have a specific style, a specific way of working, and I don't think that I will work well with other people. So yeah, I mean, I do everything, and for now I can manage when it comes to, you know, responding to emails and doing projects and stuff like that. The only thing that I think I will be needing help in the future maybe is YouTube, editing videos, because right now it is the thing that takes me the most time to do. I'm not necessarily very good at it, so I think that maybe in the future, very distant future, maybe that was something that I would outsource to somebody else. I don't want anyone here in the studio with me. There's literally an empty desk where somebody else could work, but no. Okay, question number 8 is, how do you plan your social media content? Over the last year almost, I kind of created a schedule for myself where I know exactly where I'm gonna post every day. If you've been following me on Instagram for a while, you might know what I'm talking about. I created the schedule for myself where every Monday I post a brief for my creative challenge, the Creative Besties. On Tuesdays I post a reel, which is an educational reel, and from Wednesday to Friday I post my brand designs. I post from 5 to 7 times a week. I know that this is something that works for me, but of course I know that this is not the case for everybody. I don't know, I just feel comfortable with the schedule that I have. Even with YouTube now, I'm always like 3 weeks ahead. So for example, if today I were to design a whole brand, I would have almost an entire week ready to post like in 3 weeks. It's kind of easier now that I do YouTube to plan my content, because I know when I'm gonna be posting stuff and how to fill the gaps in case I need to. Try to set a schedule for yourself. Try to understand the kind of content that you want to post, and just give them a day. So question number 9 is kind of similar, and it's, how do you juggle working on client projects and posting on social media platforms like Instagram and YouTube? Well, the answer to this question is going to be a little sad. It's just plain and simple. I work a lot and I don't really do much outside of it, which is not good. I know that it isn't, but I started my business just a couple of months ago, so I'm really like all in at the moment. I really want to make this work and find a rhythm that works for me. Given the fact that I am alone in this, it takes a lot of work. I work every day, even Sundays. I don't come to the studio. Is vecna coming for me? I hope so. I'm so over this heat. Even if it's probably hotter in the upside down, so, or maybe not. Is it cold in the upside down? Tell me below. I don't come to the studio on Sunday, but I work from home. I mean, I have business hours because it's when I come to the studio. If you've seen my A Day in a Life video, you know that at 6 I leave my studio, but many times as soon as I get home, I just turn on my computer again and keep working. Usually I never do actual design work when I'm home, but when it comes to like planning content and making some edits and talking to clients and doing just admin stuff in general, I do all of that even if I'm home. I of course edit videos, make thumbnails and stuff like that. It kind of never stops, and if you're a fellow content creator, you know what I'm talking about. Hopefully in the future I will kind of find a better balance for myself, just because, you know, it is a lot of work. I have a business and I have things that need to be taken care of. Kind of helps the fact that as a person I don't like going out much if it's not absolutely necessary, and I'm not with anyone, and my best friend lives in another country, so you know, things would be different if my situation was different, but it is what it is, and it's working out for me. I mean, there are days where I have to like force myself not to keep working, because when you're working for yourself, there's no one telling you what to do, and that's great, but there's also no one telling you when to stop. You always feel like you have things to do. Like every day I have things that I want to do, and when I get home, if I'm not like extremely tired, I do feel like I have to turn my computer back on and keep working. This might not be the answer that you were looking for, because I don't know how sustainable it is for someone who has like a different lifestyle. My advice is to kind of try to find a balance that works for you. Question number 10 was kind of unexpected, but I like this question, and it's: how do you organize your physical stuff as a designer, like sketches, materials, etc.? I love this question because we never really talk about this. We always talk about files and client portals and stuff like that, but being a designer also means like having physical stuff, because I know that there's a lot of people who sketch. I personally don't, but I still have like a lot of things, so I'm gonna show you. So I organize my thing in 3 different ways. Now, first of all, I have a planner, a daily planner. My brain would explode if I didn't have this. Even if I have Notion and there are a lot more ways to like plan your days, I still need to write everything down so that I always know what I have to do. This also helps me with managing all the things that I have to do. I just get very confused and overwhelmed, and I forget things when they're on my computer. Even if I do love Notion, I cannot use it for day-to-day tasks. But this is not it. I also have a sketchbook. Now, I usually don't sketch, even if I did it in my last video. If you haven't seen it, it's here somewhere, because I mean, I'm not an illustrator, so it's kind of pointless to me to sketch things out, and also because I manipulate type a lot and I get inspired by the fonts that I have, and I usually get my ideas once I see like the fonts on the screen. I mean, this is just my way of working. I know that there's a lot of designers who sketch. And then I have another notepad, which is so funny. Just look at it. I'm silently judging your font choice, and this is basically for notes and client notes. Especially when I do discovery calls with my clients, I basically discuss all the details of their discovery questionnaire. We hop on a call and then we discuss these answers, but before doing that, I kind of write down everything that they have written on the questionnaire. It's my thing. I mean, you don't have to do it. It just helps me understand things better. Question number 11 is a big one. What inspires you the most? Well, okay. The obvious answer is other designers, and it is true. There are some amazing people that I follow, and I discover new people every day. But if I have to pick some people, like some specific people, there are 2 people who have been like fundamental in my growth, and they are Abby Connick and Kel Lauren. They are the reason why I'm here today making this video and doing this job, for different reasons, but they have inspired me in so many ways, just in design style, but also like as people. But of course, I get my inspirations from a lot of things, and I suggest that you do that too. I mean, don't just look at design for design inspiration, because there's inspiration everywhere. For example, of course, art plays a big role in this, because I have studied art for many years, and I always go back to it. Of course, I did go to uni, so a lot of the things that I studied were very like theoretical. Like I studied a lot of history of graphic design, history of art. So yeah, I always keep these things in my mind when I'm working. Makeup inspires me a lot too, in terms of like colors, just in general. And another thing that I didn't really consider, but I guess it does inspire me a lot, is drag. I love drag and drag culture. I have been for years. It is very important to me, and I think that drag is like an even bigger way of expressing yourself through makeup and the way you present yourself. There are some amazing drag queens that I've been following for years that have had a big impact on me, but also like in my design style, the way that they play with color and the way that they do things like in the most like extreme way possible, but everything has a purpose, everything has a story, and I kind of want to bring that into my work. I kind of want to put businesses in drag. I want to make them fabulous and successful. And yeah, inspiration can come from anywhere, and I think that it's a good way to just expand your horizons a little bit, because if you just look at other design work, you might end up copying other people or doing the same thing over and over again, which is something that I never wanted to do. It is good to challenge yourself. It is good to take inspiration from other things and just do you, honestly. Your design style is what it is because it comes from you, and that's also the beauty of working as a designer and having people reach out to you, because they reach out to you for who you are, your perspective, your background, what you are, who you are, and what you can do for them with all that you are. I didn't want to be like too deep. Now you definitely know why I look insane every day, just because I love drag so much. Question number 12, and we're getting towards the end, you guys. Have you ever considered doing a collab video / a challenge live streaming with another designer? Love you and love your work. Thank you. Actually, I have been thinking about this, not because I wanted to do it, but because I know that that is something that I am never going to do. And I'm gonna explain why. So as you probably know, English is not my first language, and no matter how fluent I am, of course, it happens that I stumble with my words, I forget something, or I just mispronounce something. And you know, it's not that nice when it happens when you're talking to many people and people actually tell you that. But also, I have just a tiny bit of phone anxiety, and this also applies to just talking to other people live, not just in English, just in general, just me as a person. And I know that there's a lot of opportunities in doing things live, and I know that not doing them could close a lot of doors for me, but I am very aware of that, and I'm also very aware of what I can and what I cannot do. Like, I know myself, I know that this is something that I cannot do. And I know that you might think like, well, everybody is nervous to do live things, but it just goes away. But I know that this is not the case for me. I don't want to get into specifics, but it's more than just being a little nervous. I know that there's like one specific event that I would really love to do, but I know that I can't. Like, I am dreading the day in the future, if it ever happens, that I get that email and I have to turn it down, because I know that I have to. It would break my heart, so deep down I hope that it never happens. I will never want to seem disrespectful or ungrateful for the opportunities that I'm being offered, but again, I know myself and I know my limits. But I'm obviously open to collaborate with other designers in other ways. I have no problems with that. Last question. I know it's not design related, but life in Italy. Well, of course, I'm gonna try to make it a little bit about design. I don't know if you guys know this already, but if you don't, I am Italian. I live in Sicily. I was born and raised in Italy. My first language, of course, is Italian. The reason I'm speaking English in these videos and in my business is because I want to have the opportunity to work with people from all around the world. Sometimes people make comments about my accent, but I don't care because this is just the way that I talk. And yeah, I mean, life in Italy isn't, how can I put this? Isn't necessarily what people think. I think that a lot of people, like, outside of Italy and outside of Europe, have like a really romanticized idea of what Italy is. It has ups and downs, and I mean, Italy and Sicily in particular are amazing when it comes to like the sites, when it comes to art history. There's a lot of history in every building that you see, especially in my city, and it's beautiful. Just as a place, it's very beautiful. But the problem, it's not the place itself, in my opinion. The problem, I think, it's more about the people who live in Italy. Anyone who knows me in real life knows that I do not like living here, and I would love to move someday. I thought that my work one day would take me somewhere else, but given the fact that I'm doing this now, I can do this from anywhere. So there's obviously any reason to move. So, I'm here doing my thing. But if we're talking about design, the reason why I started my business and I conduct my business in English and I work with people from all around the world is because here, people do not have an understanding of what design is, of what brand design is, what it's worth, and what it can do for your business. Here, people want things fast and they want them cheap. If you ask even more than 100 euros, they will tell you that you are crazy. And of course, this is not something that can be sustainable for a business. I wouldn't even know how to pay one bill with what people want to pay here. I mean, I cannot deal with that. I think that my talents, let's just say talents and my skills are better used for this kind of work and not with the people around me. If I had the opportunity to work with someone here who valued my work, then yeah, of course. So this was the last question. I obviously couldn't answer every question that I got, so I'm probably gonna do more Q&As in the future on my Instagram page. I hope that you guys were entertained by this and that I helped you a little bit. So we have discussed design a lot in this video, but if you actually want to see my design skills in action, you can watch my Design With Me playlist, where you can find all my design videos and binge watch them. If you enjoyed this video and you would like to see more, you can of course subscribe to my channel, push the like button, and leave me a comment with literally any other question that you have, and I will answer them in the comments below. Follow me on all my social media. I hop on my stories almost every day, so if you want to get to know me a little bit better, you can follow me there. And what are we commenting today? Oh my god, I have no idea. I didn't think this through. Since I talked about me a lot, comment one emoji or some emojis that describe you as a person. And yeah, thank you so much for sticking around and for watching. I will see you again next week in another video. Ciao! Opening up a bit too much, I think. We're gonna cut that.